Lokazi, thanks for joining me again here for more MLG Columbus casted from replays. Here we have DigitasNaniwa spawning in the top left-hand position here on Shakura's Plateau, which is of course the map he chose. Protests like this map because you have a very easily defendable natural. And MLosira as the blue Zerg in the bottom right-hand corner here. And he is scouting across to the left. This is of course the upper bracket of MLG, which was played last weekend, casting it from the replays because it is exciting, and I had quite a few friends ask if I had seen it. I hadn't seen it, so I thought, why not cast it while I watch it, and then give them something to watch and listen to, as it's kind of hard to go through and find all the VODs and all that type of stuff for all these replays, so easier just to have somebody cast it and then have it all in one location. So that's what I'm doing. In the first game, we saw the Zerg player MLG pumping out a very strong Roach Hydra Ling army, which was pretty much crushed with very little ceremony out of Naniwa. Quite a few force fields going down, boxing up, and just shooting right through it with 4 Colossus. Immediately tech switching, picking up some Corruptors, about 14 to be exact, and stomping through the Colossus. Though he didn't take out the entire ground army, MLG totally took out all of the Colossus. A 5th one was produced, but it ended up staying in Naniwa's base because he didn't want to walk out on the field and just get ripped apart. So there was a few Stalkers left over from that engagement, but MLG had taken out the threat of all those Colossus, and he just massed up a bunch of Hydras and Zerglings, and then went in and started pressuring Naniwa's natural, and ended up taking that out. It was really impressive to see, and really fun to watch. And we have Naniwa doing a 15, it looks like, expansion, 15 Nexus, and he has dropped a Forge and is just working on his expansion right now, getting his minerals up. MLosira is floating almost 300 minerals. He's going to start a Queen, I am sure, right after this, and a pair of Zerglings to take out any type of probe/pylon shenanigans there at the bottom of the ramp. And again, we see this out of the Korean players. We have the extractor pool before expansion build every single time out of the Korean players. And by the Korean players, I mean We Made Moon and MLosira so far. The only non-Korean Zerg I've seen playing are actually Rhett and Slush, both of whom were facing each other. So that doesn't really give an accurate impression of their expansion, their pool or hatchery builds. We have Gateway and Cannon just finishing up for Naniwa. Cannon finishing up, Gateway about halfway done at the top of his ramp, and he looks like he's still dedicating his chrono boost towards his probe production, and has picked up his first gas, which is now mining. And Naniwa up to 22 probes versus the Zerg players 19, sorry. A second Queen finishing up here for MLosira. It is going to scoot its way down to the natural. Probably drop a Creep Tumor actually, and then scoot its way down to the natural. Zergling speed almost finished here, and these Zerglings are chasing around a probe in the middle of the map. Always good to pick off any probes wandering around just in case. And it looks like Naniwa actually blocked the top of his ramp with this Cybernetics core. I think that's a block. There might be one space, but I'm pretty sure. No, I don't know. That's tough. I think you can actually get through. I'm trying to remember. I wall all the time on this map as a Terran player, and I'm pretty sure there is a gap at the edge of the 3 barracks. So. There probably is. I'm not 100% sure though. And MLosira is droning up as hard as he can, but Naniwa was just using literally every single chrono boost for those probes, and he is keeping ahead here. And Naniwa's expansion very well saturated. He has not picked up a 3rd or 4th gas. He has 4 gateways going down in the main. 3, sorry. Bringing it up to a total of 4. No +1 being researched quite yet. Boost going down on Cybernetics core. There's +1 researching up. Maybe it is a solid wall, not sure. Third being picked up by Lucira here. And creep tumors starting their way. They're about to be starting down the bottom of the ramp. And there are 3 queens, so this queen is going to waddle its way over to the third and get there sometime next week in order to inject larvae on it. Finally surpassing the Protoss player up to 44 drones now. Losira is dropping his Evo chamber and a Roach Warren. Naniwa picking up his 3rd and 4th assimilators and getting a 2nd cybernetics core, which means he's going to knock down his wall soon. A robo facility, and just boosting along or researching along that +1. Here the cybernetics core is getting knocked down. Which I always thought was kind of weird. I mean, I guess you can rebuild the cybernetics core and whatnot, but it literally has the most HP out of all of the Protoss 150 mineral buildings. So you'd think you'd just like build a 2nd forge at the back of your base and research from that, and then leave your cybernetics core up at the front. But then again, if you lose your cybernetics core, it's definitely the most crippling building to lose at the front. So not a bad idea, I guess, to destroy and rebuild. I'm guessing that's the logic behind it. Not so much that it has the most HP, so why would you kill the one with the most HP, but more it's the one that's going to cripple you the most if it's picked off and you don't have a backup. And we have +1 melee attack again going down for Losira. He likes the +1 melee attack first. He's massing roaches and then picks up +1 melee attack and just pumps out a ton of Zerglings when he's ready to push across. We have 2 pylons right here, so they will be able to warp in reinforcements at the bottom of this giant hill here to the 3rd. Meantime, a roach poking at this Zeal and then deciding to head home. And that kind of a weird scout there. We have +1 armor picking up here for Naniwa. His +1 damage has finished. Losira is macro hatching at his 3rd. Last time he macro hatched at his natural. Kind of interesting. +1 melee damage just finished for Losira. And he is now pumping out a lot of Zerglings. There's a lot of Zerglings on the left-hand side of the field, and a lot of roaches getting boxed in here. Very nice force fields out of Naniwa here, and then blocking, wow, instantly blocking off all of those Zerglings, and this tiny force of Naniwa actually taking out all of these Zerglings and roaches. That was some impressive display of force fields. Colossus getting down below half HP, but all of it in shield damage. And those force fields were superb. Totally blocking in all those roaches in a little U, and then boxing the front of the U with a few Zeals, which did die, but you know, their life for ire, you know. And a few Zerglings are all that is out on the field, and 6 roaches actually. And wow, that was, I just can't get over how well that situation went for Naniwa. A few Zerglings running up from Losira into the natural of Naniwa, actually. And they are going to get a few drone kills, or probes, I guess. And maybe deny this cannon. Yeah, they deny that cannon. But there's a nice little SimCity over here, gapping it down to 1. And these Zerglings are just going to try and run around and be as annoying as possible. Another Zeal warping in, though, and these Zerglings are going to get finished up. Looks like going for another Zergling run by. Losira runs over to the tower and discovers, oh, there's like 2 Colossus over there. That's not good. Again with the Roach Zergling. Looks like Losira is going to try and move out and try and surround this force here in the middle. But Naniwa knows, he sees the roaches going through. And the Zergling is going for another run by. So they're going to run right up into the 3rd, or into the natural. In the meantime, Naniwa roasting all of the Zerglings out in the middle army, putting up a giant force field wall, and ripping through the rest of all these roaches. He's going to have to start microing, though. Backing up to the cannons, Naniwa is able to save his Colossus, but up in the main, Zerglings look like they did a decent amount of damage. Colossus nearly dying there. And again, the Roach is pushing forward up onto Naniwa's third base. In the meantime, Losira did just finish his fourth behind this. And all that's really left alive are a few Colossus. And they cannot cliff walk up that giant hill. They have to run all the way back here, which does not allow them to defend this third, which is just getting ripped apart by Ling Roach. And you know, some people would say, hey, you need Corruptors to take out Colossus. No, doesn't look like it. Looks like you can just overwhelm the Protoss player on three base versus just coming up third base of the Protoss, and in very convincing fashion. It looks like Losira is going to take this game. There are 4 Colossus left at the top of the hill, and the third is gone. Well, the third is not gone. It is totally knocked down, and the natural looks like it's not going to be holding for much longer. Though these Colossus have just an obscene amount of kills. They have 100 kills between them, and they're still racking up kills. Finally, these Colossus, 2 of them dropping to Zerglings, and DigitasNaniwa calls a GG, which is going to force him into the lower bracket, wherein he can come back to the upper bracket in the finals, but he needs to win all of his games down there, and Losira advancing to the second round of the winners bracket, wherein if he gets knocked out, he gets knocked down in the losers bracket for the, I guess, the championship of the lower bracket. And if he wins down there, he comes back to the upper bracket. So thank you for tuning in. This was Game 2 of Naniwa vs. Losira in the winners bracket, or the upper bracket, of MLG Columbus 2011. And I will see you for the next set of games, which is MMA vs. Idra, coming up next.